Hello everyone, welcome to Pratham Test Prep YouTube channel. I am Ashish Bhargav and welcome to another episode of Daily News Analysis. I welcome each and everyone who is watching this YouTube session, and in this newspaper analysis that we discuss about important news from all major newspaper, The Hindu, Indian Express, PIB and many more. Moving further, as we know that daily news analysis that we discuss about from international news, economy-based news, sports-based news, science and tech, personal news, summits and conference, miscellaneous national news. And apart from that we can say that we discuss about Supreme Court verdict, which is very important because the reason behind in the many CLAT exam that you will see the amendments act they used to ask it, and any state initiative which is very frequently used to ask in your exam. So state initiative also be discussed in this YouTube session. So now moving further, here's the quote of the day. So if your voice is high, only a few people will hear. If your thought is high, then many people will listen. And to inculcate this thought process, you have to develop to read the newspaper on daily basis, because current affairs main source is they are extracting from the newspaper. And we have taken initiative questions of the day, and that questions of the day is important. At the end of this YouTube session, we'll ask to you 3 to 5 questions, which is very important in a daily basis. If you solve the question, that would be very beneficial for you. And now is very first news. Okay, here is our Pratham Test Prep mentors. As we can see, like daily newspaper analysis that is taken by me at 11:30 a.m. and then Sanjeet Bhadia sir that is taken by Legal Darpan, and then Juhi ma'am for current affairs Samvad. Hema ma'am is deep dive session taken by deep dive session every Thursday, and Rahul Sharma sir taken by Maths Mudda, and we can say in once in a month. Logical reasoning by Girish Bhatt sir, and the all 3 persons taken by the boost your vocabulary, especially by the Yatin Handa sir. Now moving further, here is the very first news is data protection bill, the good and the bad. We have discussed I think 3-4 times in the data protection bill, and this is somewhere in the mention in the newspaper what exactly the data protection bill is. The main crux that we have discussed is that it is violation of somewhere in the right to privacy, which is enshrined in our article 21. So what is digital personal protection bill 2022 and why it is important to a common man? So as we have discussed, the bill which is at the consultation stage currently, after the last version was pulled down in August, aims to ensuring a safety of data of millions of Indian mobile and phone customers by suggesting a consent-based data collection regime. Consent-based, which means that it should be something in such a manner that the person who is the person to whom you want to extract the data, it must be consented. उनको information आप होनी चाहिए कि आपका data is using from what purpose. The government wants to over 70 crore Indian smartphone users to have transparency about how their data is being collected and for what purpose is being processed. The government is also suggesting easier cross-border data transfer, but only for the trusted locations. So why has the data protection bill gone through so many iterations? Because there are many pros and cons, because any bill, as we know that the bill procedure in our constitution is goes to the Lok Sabha, then Raj Sabha, and once the president signed on it, then the bill became act, right? So why has the data protection bill gone through so many iterations? The reason behind, on August 3rd, the government has sprung a surprise by withdrawing the much debated data protection bill from parliament. Because if the data colonized somewhere, so it can be misused also, right? If any political party is using, okay, so that data is supporting the BJP people, that data is supporting by the Congress people, so that can be misused also. That's why it's a kind of the controversy is going on. So in parliament and promised to introduce a new legislation very soon, but without any dilution to the broader privacy aspect of the original bill, and without any compromise to the right to privacy, so as provided by the Supreme Court. And the original bill was the culmination of work that had begun, around 5 years back, around formation of Justice Shri Krishna Committee. So Justice Shri Krishna Committee, you have to remember the name. Justice Shri Krishna Committee recommended first time the data protection bill के बारे में, so that committee need to be remembered, especially for the law aspirant. Justice Shri Krishna Committee. Justice Shri Krishna Committee. So government wanted to come up with a comprehensive legal framework to regulate the online space, including separate legislation on data privacy, the internet ecosystem, cyber security, telecom regulations, and harnessing non-personal data to boost innovations in the country. It also faced a pushback from several stakeholders, including tech companies and privacy activities. So, how has the draft bill addressed thorny issues? What are the areas in which the draft falls short? So the draft bill aims to provide consent-based data collection technique while stipulating penalties of 500 crore, which may go up manifold, in future for data breaches and violation. In detailed manner, we have discussed each and everything in the yesterday and day before yesterday in daily newspaper analysis. And sometimes we can say that showing leniency on the critical issues of cross-border transfer data, the draft bill says that center may allow the movement of such country or territory outside India to which a data fiduciary, which means customer, internet and social media companies. What are the positive in this draft bill? So it gives powers in the hands of ordinary citizens on how and what data is collected and how it will be processed. This is the positive aspect. And draft bill requires the setting up a government appointment data protection board, unlike the data protection authority in the previous bill, to ensure compliance. And ये जो board होगी will have some kind of user complaints also. What next? So will this draft be passed in its current form, or will there be further modification? Obvious that there could be changes also. So that there will be deliberation and the government wants the stakeholders' views on the subject before it finalizing a bill, and that will be tabled in the parliament. And the government expect to complete the process over the next few months. This is all about the crux in this process. Now moving further is the second news, the Executive-Judiciary Tussle. So as we know in our government system, Government of India is working in the three manners. First we can say is legislature, and then executive, and then third one is judiciary. So what legislature, which means that parliament. Parliament, which means parliament, simply we can say that Lok Sabha, which is known to be lower house, Rajya Sabha, which means upper house, and president, which is known to be executive head of the nation. So parliament consists of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and president. Executive, as we know that, we can say executive head is PM, and judiciary, as you know, Supreme Court and High Court. So we have a parliamentary form of governance, which means that executive is solely responsible to the legislature, and here is executive and here is judiciary. So what the things is going on in this article, because seems to be, so I will do it in the 4 parts. मैं सबके आपको यहाँ पे, because it seems that it's not visible to everyone. So first part में देखते हैं क्या है इसमें. So in the past few years, media has been replete with articles and discourse critiquing the performance of the judiciary. More strident sound bites comes from those who support the view in the judiciary is on the ivory tower, and the judges are having whale of a time with inexplicable vacations and a few hours of court work. Some even go to the extent of berating the style of functioning of judges, including telling them how to write judicial orders. Though the judiciary itself does not respond directly on the charges, and as we know in our country that we have independent judiciary system, right? So judiciary giving the sole power that any decisions which is against the country's sovereignty, that you can repeal it. So though the judiciary itself does not respond directly on these charges, it indirectly, during occasional judicial related conference or speeches, consider that efficiently parameters have declined on account of mounting litigation, lingering vacancies and infrastructure constraint. As we know that there are many court cases are pending these days, right? And so if our judicial system is not working properly, so as we can say that the executive must take in the lead in functioning the judiciary and legislature harmoniously, right? Now, if we go further, we will see that a noisy debate is going on these days. These discussions and debates, though not new, gain momentum since the appointment process of the judges in higher judiciary by a National Judicial Appointment Commission, NGAC. Or NGAC was established by the 99th Constitution Amendment Act, right? Was declared void by the Supreme Court. As we can say, dispassionate look at these issues confirm their existence for long And however, as we know that our collegium system is somehow responsible. Collegium system is that kind of monopoly. Reason behind the 5 judges in our country, judges selected to the another judges, right? So this passionate look at these issues confirm their existence for long. However, of late discussion have moved beyond this basic issue, deviating from the value and maturity attached to the institution debate and bordering on ignorance and lacking in professional and intellectual courtesy. So many of them miss the principle of separation of functioning enshrined in the Constitution. And what exactly Constitution define it? A basic tenet of Constitution for maintaining harmonious inter-institutional balance as well as the differences in their respective ecosystem. So to observe what have relevant experience to reasonably understand both the executive and judiciary branches of the state and how they work, the growing tempo of this debate is the result of an impatience with the speech of changes and progress, and at the time some blame game is, grandstanding is thrown in either hide of limitation or to proclaim their superiority. So as we know that in our country, economically independent India grew at a suboptimal average rate of about 4% of 4 decades, around 6% next 3 decades. Understanding the need for the rapid growth and 2, taking complex geopolitical constraint into account. So if we because the blaming game is going on, some action that is taken by the judiciary, so High Court having sole authority to take a decision in the terms of the state matter is concerned. Now, if we talk about the state legislature, executive and judiciary have to work for maintaining the delicate balance. It is primarily the responsibility of the executive to strive extra hard for the same. Because the executive is the most visible organ of the state. Because as we know, the executive head in the state is that chief minister, CM, which is the head of the council of ministers and cabinet minister as well. So because the executive is the most visible organ of the state, it is the government for all practical purposes. It is responsible for drafting legislation, proposal with clarifying the accordance with the evolving requirements and bring them before the legislature. It is responsible for effectively implementing the law and constituting and managing all the organs, including courts, right? So an agency efficiently, parliamentary responsible for only enacting the law and judiciary for interpreting it. Because in our country, as we know that the work of parliament is responsible only for enacting, and we can say judiciary is for interpreting it. So there is also a lot of disenchantment with the executive of multiple aspects of day-to-day civic life. Further, it is well known that the executive is the largest litigant clogging the judicial system. So this is all about the article is discussing about the tussle between judiciary and executive. Now here is the editorial section. And wherever the editorial section is, basically C. Radha Mohan is a very great man, because when I was preparing for some exams for like in UPSC, so I used to study many articles about C. Radha Mohan. So I suggest to everyone कि इनके articles बहुत अच्छे होते हैं, बहुत deep manner में चीज़ों को समझाते हैं. So please try to follow this one. So new frontier in space, as we know that launch in India first private rocket signal जब launch हुई थी, इसके बारे में उन्होंने क्या बताया कि new frontier क्या होनी चाहिए. देखो this is not clearly visible, तो मैंने इसको थोड़े zoom करके study करते हैं this one. So the launch of the Vikram S के बारे में बता दिया मैंने आपको. विक्रम एस वॉज द इंडिया फर्स्ट. इसरो ने लॉन्च किया. कहाँ से लॉन्च किया? श्रीहरिकोटा. कहाँ पे बेटा? श्रीहरिकोटा कहाँ पे? आंध्र प्रदेश में. तो विक्रम एस ordered last week has been rightly held as an important milestone in India outside space journey. Or it is the first privately built Indian rocket to make it into the space, and is a result of a major push by the Prime Minister Modi open to the Indian space program for greater, particularly Indian startups. And while the PRATHAM mission, किस mission के according ये launch किया गया? That mission is PRATHAM mission of Vikram is a good beginning. India is a much distance to travel before it catches up with the rest of it within the private sector participant in the space program. and the country's private sector has the talent and experience to shorten the distance, from it creates the enabling its policies environment. So if you talk about like satellite business, एलॉन मस्क ने स्टार्ट जो रॉकेट लॉन्च की थी किसी टाइम में. So Elon Musk Starlink satellite system is now a major player with more than 2,300 satellites now in the Earth orbit. So we will see that a space program is country's private has to be talent and experience to shorten the distance. Amazon project QPL plans to launch more than 3,000 satellites in the coming years. And Airtel in India, the partner in OneWeb Corporation that offers connectivity through its system of nearly 500 satellites. So, as the European brought their continent together, they joined hands to develop the Europe Space Agency, as we have discussed, Europe Space Agency, that now major force outer space. Many other countries, including India, embarked on national space program. Delhi's main objective, which means India's main objective, right, was to leverage outer space to accelerate national development. Eventually, military and we can say commercial dimension began to develop the Indian space program. And India's space program began with intensive cooperation with the Western countries and later with the Soviet Union. So non-proliferation sanctions on India after the first nuclear test in 1974 severely constricted the space for the country in international space cooperation. It was only after the historic civil nuclear initiative that the sanction regime began to ease. India is now part of missile technology control regime that regulates commerce in space and related communities and technologies. India is also part of the Western agreement that controls trade in India dual use technology that can be used for both civilians and military purposes. So when we talk about India, for India, outer space can no longer be about narrowly framed idea to development and national prestige. It must be about business and economy. The current India share of global space economy is barely 2%, and that's why PM Modi has been demanding the India rapidly increase of 8% to coming years. And as we know that raising the India's share of the global space economy can only be done by the drawing in the private sector companies to play a larger role. Because government sector, there are many hierarchies given over there, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will take a long time. So making the strength, then so we give this role to the private sector company. So for India, outer space can no longer be about narrowly framed ideas of development and national prestige. It must be about business and economy. The current Indian share of 2%, that's why government wants to 8%. Now is the third one. Supreme Court calls out center over short tenure of CEC. CEC, which means that what exactly is CEC? Chief Election Commissioner. So after 2004, particularly, the side has begun in terms of picking up those person whose, of course, the government knows the date of birth. The government knows that these person would never get anywhere close to 6 years. So how the Chief Election Commissioner is appointed in our country? What is the way? Because as we know that many state elections is going on. Delhi में MCD elections होने वाले हैं, गुजरात में elections होने वाले हैं, हिमाचल में elections होने वाले हैं. Now we'll discuss about Election Commission of India. Retired Punjabi controversy क्यों हुई? Retired Punjab cadre का IAS officer Arun Goel recently assumed the office of Election Commissioner 2 days after President Draupadi Murmu appointed him to this post. क्या नाम है इनका? Arun Goel. Appointment of Election Commissioner. तो power to appoint the Chief Election Commissioner and Election Commissions lies with the President of India. Make sure दोनों को appoint कौन करेंगे? Only President of India. Chief Election Commissioner and Election Commission. Under article which one? Article 324 of the Constitution, which states that the President shall fix the number of election commissioners in a manner he sees fit, subject to the provision of any law made by the Parliament. And Article 324 Clause 2 left it open the Parliament to legislate on the issue. सो हमें क्या याद रखनी है, चीफ इलेक्शन कमिश्नर, उनका नाम इज अरुण गोयल जी, एंड who will appoint President of India under which constitutional provision, Article 324 clause 2 and Article 324 clause 2, it's open for the parliament to legislate on the issue. So but in the absence of any parliamentary law governing the appointment issue, the election commission are appointed by the government of a day without pursuing any consultation process. So there is no concept to collegium and no involvement of the opposition, ठीक है, because this is not a legally binding which means that we can say that कि आप उसमें आप कोर्ट पे क्वेश्चंस रेज नहीं कर सकते या प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया पे क्वेश्चन रेज नहीं कर सकते. टेन्योर क्या होता है, कमिश्नर का अपॉइंटेड फॉर द पीरियड ऑफ 6 years पीरियड और अप टू द एज ऑफ 65 विच एवर इज अर्लियर. सिमिलर लाइक वी कैन से सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजेस होते हैं, चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया, 65 years ऑफ एज. अपॉइंटमेंट कोई पीरियड कोई फिक्स नहीं होती. So there are no prescribed qualification for the appointment, although convention dictates that only senior civil servants on the rank of cabinet secretary or secretary to the government of India can with equivalent rank be appointed. Obvious that जो गोयल साहब थे ऑलरेडी हमारे क्या हैं, IAS ऑफिसर्स हैं, ठीक है, तो कैबिनेट सेक्रेटरी रैंक के ऑफिसर्स हैं, तो ही वुड बी एलिजिबल. ठीक है, तो इसमें कोई प्रिस्क्राइब्ड क्वालिफिकेशन हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में मेंशन नहीं है. नेक्स्ट वन, तमिलनाडु गेट इज फर्स्ट बायोडाइवर्सिटी हेरिटेज साइट. तो तमिलनाडु गेट्स इज फर्स्ट बायोडाइवर्सिटी हेरिटेज साइट. क्या है हमारा बायोडाइवर्सिटी हेरिटेज साइट? Biodiversity heritage sites are unique and sensitive ecosystem having rich biodiversity. These can be terrestrial, coastal and inland water in marine ecosystem under Section 37 of Biodiversity Act 2002. State government can notify biodiversity heritage site in consultation with local governing bodies. तो ये है क्या हमारा? So Biodiversity Act का मतलब enacted by the Parliament of India for the conservation of biological diversity. और दिस एक्ट इज बीइंग इम्प्लीमेंटेड टू फुलफिल द ऑब्लिगेशन अंडर द कन्वेंशन ऑफ बायोडाइवर्सिटी. और इस एक्ट में नेशनल बायोडाइवर्सिटी अथॉरिटी NBA एंड द स्टेट बायोडाइवर्सिटी बोर्ड्स हैज बीन एस्टैब्लिश्ड. ठीक है, तो नेशनल बायोडाइवर्सिटी अथॉरिटीज है, स्टैट्यूटरी ऑटोनमस बॉडी है. ऑटोनमस बॉडी विच मीन्स दैट वी कैन से, सो एक तुम्हारी होती है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडी, एट द टाइम ऑफ मेकिंग कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इट हैज बीन एस्टैब्लिश. एक होती तुम्हारी ऑटोनमस बॉडी. ठीक है, इसके हेडक्वार्टर्स कहाँ पे है? चेन्नई में है. इट फंक्शन अंडर द मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एनवायरमेंट, Forest and Climate Change, and a State Biodiversity Board SBB has been created in all states with 31,564 Biological Management Committee for each local body across India. India-Australia trade impact to be open opportunity गोयल, इसमें जो गोयल साहब ने बताई ये चीज़, तो आपको ये ध्यान रखने की इंडिया-ऑस्ट्रेलिया इकोनॉमिक जो कॉरिडोर है, इसमें 2022 में इंडिया एंड ऑस्ट्रेलिया अनाउंस दैट दे वर गोइंग टू साइन सच एन अग्रीमेंट. And the negotiation of India-Australia ECTA were formally relaunched in September 2021 and concluded a fast-track basis at the end of March 2022. Next, लक्षित बर्फुकन. अब ये क्या है हमारा लक्षित बर्फुकन? जनरल लक्षित बर्फुकन ऑफ अहोंग किंगडम. ये ट्राइब्स के ऊपर बहुत सारे आर्टिकल्स आते रहेंगे और आपको पता है कि इस पर एग्जाम में आपके जितने भी होंगे उसमें ट्राइब्स के ऊपर आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछेंगे वो. ठीक है, हमारी फर्स्ट ट्राइबल प्रेसिडेंट बनी है तो ट्राइब्स के ऊपर क्वेश्चन तो ये डैम श्योर है, चाहे वो CUT के एग्जाम हो, चाहे CLAT का एग्जाम हो, चाहे AILET के एग्जाम हो, उसमें पूछेंगे ही पूछेंगे. तो born on 24th October 1962, Borfukam was known for leadership in Battle of Sarai Ghat. कब हुई थी? 1671 में, in which an attempt by Mughal forces to capture Assam by thwarted. He was the inspiration behind strengthening India's naval force and revitalizing inland water transport and creating infrastructure associated with the DUJAT's great naval strategy. जैसे नेवल, जैसे फादर ऑफ इंडियन नेवी हम किसको बोलते हैं? शिवाजी साहब को बोलते हैं, वीर शिवाजी. लक्षित बोरफुकम गोल्ड मेडल इज अवॉर्डेड फॉर द बेस्ट कैडेट फ्रॉम द नेशनल डिफेंस अकेडमी NDA. द मेडल वाज इंस्टीट्यूटेड इन 1999 टू इंस्पायर डिफेंस पर्सनल टू इवैल्यूएट बोरफुकन हीरोइज्म एंड सैक्रिफाइसेस. और इनकी डेथ हुई थी 25 अप्रैल को. अहोम किंगडम के बारे में अगर देखिए, इनके फाउंडर थे चलोला सुखाफा, वाज 13th century ruler who founded the Ahom kingdom that ruled Assam for 6th century. The Ahom ruled the land till the province was annexed to British India in 1826 and signed the Treaty of Yandabao. तो इनकी ये कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन थी, दैट्स वाई NDA में नेशनल डिफेंस अकेडमी इनके नाम के ऊपर अवार्ड भी देती है. ठीक है, तो ये 400, ये आर्टिकल मैं आपको क्यों बता रहा हूँ, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के वेबसाइट पे थी ये, और ये 400th सेलिब्रेशन मना रहे हैं किसकी? लक्षित बर्फुकम की. ठीक है, द वी कैन से अहोम जनरल ऑफ Assam who defeated the Mughal invaders. इसकी वेन्यू कहाँ रखी गई थी? विज्ञान भवन न्यू दिल्ली में। डेट थी 23 से 25 ऑफ नवंबर 2022, ये डेट है इसकी। राजनाथ प्रपोजेस रोल ऑफ वुमेन इन यूएन पीस कीपिंग। इसमें देखिए एशियान इंडिया एशियान एसोसिएशन के बारे में बात की गई है, 19th एशियन इंडिया समिट्स के बारे में। तो वाइस प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया अटेंड द 19th एशियन इंडिया समिट्स इन नोम फे कंबोडिया। एंड इसमें क्या, व्हाट इज द एसोसिएशन ऑफ साउथ ईस्ट एशियन नेशन, Asian nations. It is a regional grouping that promotes economic, political, and security cooperation. It was established in August 1967 in Bangkok, Thailand, with the signing of ASEAN Declaration, Bangkok Declaration भी कहते हैं, by the founding fathers of ASEAN, namely Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand. Its chairmanship rotates annually based on the alphabetical order of English names of member states. और एशियान कंट्रीज हैव अ टोटल पॉपुलेशन ऑफ 650 मिलियन पीपल। सो हम देखें यहाँ पे एशियान ब्रिंग्स टुगेदर साउथ ईस्ट एशियन स्टेट्स, ब्रुनाई, कंबोडिया, इंडोनेशिया, लाओस। मैं आपको ट्रिक्स बताऊंगा, सो विल यू गॉट टू नो कि इफ इन एग्जाम दे विल आस्क यू अबाउट द एशियन नेशन, यू विल गॉट टू नो कि इसको हमें कैसे सॉल्व करनी है। तो एशियन इंडिया डायलॉग रिलेशन स्टार्टेड विद द एस्टैब्लिशमेंट ऑफ सेक्टरल पार्टनरशिप इन 1992। सो एशियन इज द इंडिया 4th लार्जेस्ट ट्रेडिंग पार्टनर। India signed FTA free trade agreement in goods in 2009 and FTA in service and investment 2014 and with ASEAN। अब देखिए मैप पे आपको यहाँ पे एशियन नेशन की मैप बता, लोकेशंस आप देख सकते हैं। यहाँ पे अपना प्यारा देश भारत, मालदीव, तिस्बाउती, यहाँ पे इसके नेबरिंग एरिया देखें, सारे मैप पे आपको इसमें दिख जाएंगे सारे कंट्री के नाम, विच इज अ पार्ट ऑफ एशियन नेशन। नाउ एशियन ग्रुपिंग आप देखेंगे सारे हैं मैप पे, वियतनाम, कंबोडिया, मलेशिया, ब्रुनाई, फिलीपींस, इंडोनेशिया, सिंगापुर, थाईलैंड। कमेंट सेक्शन में कैन एनीवन टेल इस सबकी कैपिटल बता दो। नाउ हियर इज अ ट्रिक टू रिमेंबर एशियन कंट्री। टीवी क्लिप ऑफ MBBS। T stand for Thailand, V stand for Vietnam, C for Cambodia, L for Laos, I for Indonesia, P for Philippines, M Malaysia, B for Burma, Myanmar, B for Brunei, and S for Singapore. So if they will ask to you in the MCQ format, like which of these nations is not a part of ASEAN, so we can simply learn with the help of mnemonics as TV clip of MBBS. Now skill training of MG Narega's workers lacks center blames it to one of the states. तो उसमें उन्नति प्रोजेक्ट को लॉन्च किया गया था, उन्नति प्रोजेक्ट 2022 में, रिड्यूस डिपेंडेंस ऑन जॉब स्कीम। उसमें ट्रेन किया गया था 25,000 पर्सन्स को अगेंस्ट द 2 लाख टारगेट, and government plans to link project with the labor budget, hoping to influence the performance of the states. India and UAE holds talks to the food security cooperations. So India and UAE are going to ahead with the food security cooperation under the I2U2. I2U2, a new West Asian quadrilateral that includes Israel and US. बस इसमें इतनी ही चीजें जाननी है। अगर एक्सपोर्ट की बात करें तो इंडिया एक्सपोर्ट टू UAE बिटवीन अप्रैल एंड सितंबर 2022 वर अबाउट $16 million, which was an increase of 24% year to year, while India's import increased 38% to reach $28.4 billion in the same time period. Now it's time to questions of the day, and here is the very first question. Consider the following statement. The government of India had notified the electoral bond scheme in 2018. Only political parties that have secured no less than 10% votes in the Lok Sabha election are eligible to receive electoral bonds. Which of the statement given is correct? Obvious statement first one is correct one. Statement first हमारा correct है, second one is not correct. The government have notified the electoral bond scheme in 2018. It was touted as an alternative to cash donation and to ensure transparency in political funding. And as per the provision of a scheme, electoral bonds may be purchased by Indian citizens or a company incorporated to establish in India. Only political parties registered under Section 29A or the Representation of People's Act (RPA) 1951 has secured no less than 1% votes in Lok Sabha elections are eligible to electoral bonds. ऐसा नहीं कि आपने कोई पॉलिटिकल पार्टी आज बना दी, उसमें आपको फंडिंग बाहर से आपको लोग बॉन्ड दे रहे हैं. इसमें 1% से नीचे वोट नहीं होनी चाहिए लोकसभा इलेक्शंस में, then you are eligible for the electoral bond. Next one. Annual Status of Education Report ASER is published by Oxfam India, Save the World, World Vision or Pratham. And many times we have discussed newspaper articles. आपको day before yesterday we have discussed about the annual status of education report. अभी यहाँ पे इनको अवार्ड ही मिला था प्रथम एनजीओ को. तो यस, आंसर हमारा क्या है? डी है. 2021 अवार्ड अभी जस्ट दिया एनजीओ प्रथम वर्किंग इन द फील्ड ऑफ एजुकेशन. और the award carries a monetary award for 25 lakh along with a citation, and this award annually by the Indira Gandhi Memorial Trust to individuals and organization. Or annual status of education report is biennially published by the NGO Pratham since 2005. Consider the following statement about Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. The Administrative Ministry of FSI is the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. It is responsible for protecting and promoting public health through the regulation and supervision of food safety. Which statement is our correct one? Obvious that statement C is correct one. दोनों statement correct थे. Food Safety and Standard Authority of India is a statutory body established Food Safety and Standard Act 2006. The Administrative Ministry of FSI is the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. It is responsible for protecting and promoting public health through the regulation and supervision of food safety. So guys, this is all about the newspaper article. I hope you enjoyed the session a lot. We'll meet you tomorrow at the same time. And if you are new in this channel, please subscribe the channel as well. And do not forget to press the bell icon. Or please let me know the comment section कि आपको class कैसे लगी. If you have any doubts, any query, if you want to ask, please let me know in the chat section as well. And share to your friends, colleague and family group. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day. We'll meet you tomorrow at the same time at 11:30 a.m. Thank you so much. Bye-bye and take care.